Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Play Together, Stay Together podcast, brought to you by ParadiseGolfApparel.com, the greatest golf apparel in all the world. I'm Zach.
I'm Rachel.
And we are going to talk about relationships today. We're going to talk about our relationship, other relationships, for episode 5. Cinco. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. All right, so do you want to start us off, or do you want me to start us off? How do you want to do this?
Go ahead and start.
All right, so we are just going to kind of hit you with a therapy session for about 30 minutes and talk about things that we've found work. Mm-hmm. We're going to give a couple examples of things that we found don't work. We're going to talk about other relationships without giving away names because we don't want people to hate us. But we just want to share a little bit about us as a couple, us in our marriage, us, working together as parents, kind of our team dynamic of me and Rachel.
Everyone asks how we're so happy and how we, do our life. So this is how we're going to do it.
This is how we do it. I think the first thing we should talk about is the biggest piece of advice that I give everybody that ever asks me advice about, maybe a problem they're having, or asks, how are you and Rachel always, in lockstep together, always so good. One word: communication. Mm-hmm. Communication is the biggest part of our relationship, is the best thing that you can have, and the thing that you have to create a solid
foundation
and marriage. And whether you're dating or talking to each other or married or whatever you are, if you're with another person and that person means something to you, communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You can't communicate enough in a marriage or relationship or with your family. You got to do it. And sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but just know after you have that conversation, it'll be better.
Yeah.
I think. I mean,
I agree.
We've had plenty of uncomfortable conversations in our, over 13 years of being together. So you just got to do it.
Yeah. We were talking about this. So every night we go on a walk around our neighborhood and around the lake. And we were talking about, what are some of the things that we're going to talk about in our relationship podcast? And we talked about communication. And, as we were talking, I kind of surprised myself because I put it in a box. I made, just one solid statement. And communication is going to save you time. Mm-hmm. And that's the best way that I can put it. It's going to save you time, whether you and your spouse or you and your significant other are having an issue that needs dealt with, and it's making you mad or it's making them mad. That communicating, that awkward conversation, that, little bit of sit down and talk time is going to save you so much time of grief. If Rachel does something that upsets me and she continues to do it and I don't say anything, is it really her fault that she's doing it, or is it my fault that I'm not bringing it up?
Right.
So having that conversation is going to save me time because I can express to her my feelings. I can express to her, what she's doing, how it's making me feel. And then the time aspect comes from her reaction to that conversation. She's going to react one of two ways. Well, I guess one of three ways. But the first way is going to be she's going to completely change it, or we're going to come to some sort of compromise or agreement on how we can live in harmony by fixing that action that makes me upset, which is going to save me time of being mad and resenting, whatever it is you're doing. The other thing she's going to do is she's going to say, I'm not changing. And then I'm really going to have to look inside and say, does this bother me enough that I'm never going to get over it? Or can I deal with it and accept it as the new norm? But either way, I have to make that decision. If I can't accept it, then I gotta go. We gotta be done because it's a deal breaker at that point, right? Yeah. And that's gonna save me time because I'm not gonna be in a relationship that's not working for me.
Right.
I see so many people around us that have these issues that could be solved by communication. Mm-hmm.
But they're scared to do it.
They're so scared to do it, and it's a hard thing to do. we're not telling you that this is easy and this is something that came super simple to us. But early in our relationship, we sat down with each other, and I think we both made a list.
Yeah,
we were both
100%.
unhappy with a couple things the other person was doing. So we sat down, we said, okay, in a week's time, we're going to sit down again. In between now and the week, you come up with the things that are bothering you. I'm going to come up with the things that are bothering me, and we're going to get it all out. We're going to talk about everything, because this is the long haul. Mm-hmm. This is us forever. We took a vow of marriage. We're not breaking that vow, but we need to figure these things out. And did I like hearing the things that she said? No. Some of them broke my heart. Some of them made me angry. Some of them I didn't think were a big deal. But we fixed them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the same was for you.
Oh, yeah.
You don't ever want to hear that person that you love telling you that you're doing shitty or bad at something. Mm-hmm. But it's going to fix your relationship. If I am doing something that she absolutely hates and she does nothing but talk about it behind my back,
it's just going to ruin you.
Right.
It's going to be hard to get that bad taste out of your mouth, because when you talk to people, you talk to your family or your siblings or your friends, and then they're going to hate that, your husband or your wife because of all the crap you talk about them, and they're going to not understand why you still stay with them.
Right. So
it's just, you got to communicate with the person you're spending your life with before you communicate with anyone else.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing good about talking shit about your spouse to others. It's not.
No, you're going to sully their image.
Yeah.
You're going to make your family and friends hate that person, and it's going to really bite you in the ass when you finally do communicate. You figure out your problems. You're super happy together, but guess what? Your mom hates him,
right?
And your dad hates him, and your best friends hate him, all because of these problems that you had that you were just too chicken to talk about. Now they've ruined, the outside's view of your relationship, which isn't, that's not a deal breaker, but it's
hard to come back on, because you got to sell yourself again to that, to your friends of selling your spouse, not selling, but
you're 100% selling them.
Selling it to your friends of, okay, now you gotta like him again because we're on good paid terms or whatever. But it's hard to do. And in the back of I have a friend who talked mad shit about her husband, and I'm not friends with this person anymore. But it's hard to even like that guy because of all the stuff he did to her, all these things. It's just, it was hard to make a friendship out of that. But you don't throw your dirty laundry out to your friends. Talk it over with your spouse, because it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah, fix those issues before you put them out in the world.
Yeah, no one wants to hear it. We're here for you, but we really don't. I don't want to have a bad image of your spouse. I just don't. It's just, that's not cool.
Well, and it circles around to just communicating.
Yeah.
You're talking shit about your spouse to your friends because you're not talking to your spouse. You want to fix the problem.
Talk to your spouse.
Talk to your spouse or your significant other.
Yeah, and if, we'll say it is hard to have that initial conversation of talking to them, like, hey, we need to sit down and have this conversation because your heart's racing, you're sweating, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to have this. My advice is write it down. Get a piece of notebook, get your text message out, whatever, send yourself a note of things you want to go over. If you have to write down, like, word from word of what you're going to say, make a script of it and say, look, I want to talk to you about something. This is what it is. Do not interrupt me until I'm done. Say it nicer than that, but and just read word from word of what you wrote in silence to yourself to your spouse, because you'll be able to get everything you want to talk about. You won't miss anything, and it's more. Me personally, I like to get it all out there and then just, okay, now it's your turn to talk.
Yeah, and then talk about that stuff after.
Yeah, but that's my piece of advice. Write it down.
I agree.
That way you can get everything done.
Then let the person that you're talking to, let them know, hey, I want to have this conversation. I'm going to write it all down and I want to get it all out. The person's going to feel attacked no matter what, but just let them know this is going to make us better, but you got to let me get it all out. Mm-hmm. I've been in situations, with Rachel, with whoever, where I need to tell you all of it, or I'm going to shy away from telling you most of it.
Yeah, because your reaction to, like, if I'm talking to Zach, his reaction's going to scare me away from telling him the rest of everything.
Yeah.
So that's why getting all out at front, like, first is better. Because that's happened to me before talking with you.
Yeah.
You know, you think you got one issue fixed, like, hey, I have 3 more I need to talk about. I don't really want to piss you off again. So
she's already crying.
Just,
I can't keep hammering.
I will say, though, at the end of this, when you're done communicating with your spouse of things you want to talk about, always end the conversation with is, I love you, we'll get through this. It's not the end of it. I really reassure them that it's going to be okay, you know, because the last thing you want is ending a conversation that can be kind of brutal or hard for someone else to hear, is just walking away from it, because that's giving no one hope.
Yeah. But, you know, at the same page, you both have to be on the same idea of, I'm not going to get defensive about this. Mm-hmm. It'd be so easy for Rachel to give me all these things that I'm doing wrong, or for me to get offensive or defensive and say, you know what, screw her. She doesn't know what she's talking about, da, 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 da. When you're in a good, healthy relationship and you truly, and this is a hard thing for people to grasp, when you truly love that person and you truly care about them and their feelings and their well-being, you have to put your ego aside at some point. And you have to say, okay, if she has these things that are bothering her, or one thing that's bothering her, am I going to fix it and we're going to move forward, or are we done? You know, and if you're done, if it's a deal breaker, then part ways. And
say it then. Don't, you know, wait 10 months to bring it up again, because that's 10 months of lives you wasted because you don't hurt their feelings then. Just do it. Like, rip the Band-Aid off, because it's not fair to that person when you're not into it and you just let this conversation go and don't do anything about it. That's not fair. You don't waste someone's time like that, because you wouldn't want your time wasted. You know what I mean?
And that's ultimately what it boils down to. If you can't change what you guys are having the conversations about, or you can't, you know, fix the problems, or you're not willing to, there's somebody else that's gonna be good for you and good for your person that you're leaving, or that's leaving you. There's a million people out there. Mm-hmm. There's not just one person for everybody. I believe that there's a lot of people out there for everybody. And once you find the right one, it's going to work, and you got to work at it.
Yeah.
And you got to communicate. That's my biggest piece of advice through all of this is communicate. Communicate the good. Communicate the bad. Communicate everything with your person. Because if you don't, then you're just going down a rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. I have friends that, you know, one is super lazy and makes the other one do everything for them. And the one that has to do everything completely resents the one that's lazy. You can see it every time. Every time they ask to do something, you can see the other person going, oh, God, again? Get off your ass.
Yeah.
And if you never talk about that, then it's just as much your fault as it is the person that's being lazy.
Yeah. And talking isn't like, get off your ass, help me, that one time bitching at them. You need to have the conversation and sit down and talk with them, because he can say something to me, you know, like a smart ass comment. I'm like, whatever. Most people are going to do that. You got to have the conversation, because if you just make that snarky remark, it's not going to change. I can guarantee you it won't change.
Right. It definitely won't. Yeah, but you have to have the conversation, and you have to know your worth in the conversation. Mm-hmm. I always hear, well, you know, put your spouse before yourself. Put your spouse up on a pedestal. Well, that's great, but I need to be on that pedestal with them. My happiness is just as important as Rachel's happiness. Mm-hmm. And Rachel's happiness is just as important as my happiness. So when we're having these conversations, you know, we can't be looking at just one person to fix it. We both have to fix it. And if we're both not willing to fix it, and it's, you know, a big issue, then we need to go our separate ways, because life is short. Mm-hmm. You know, we talk about that when we talk about traveling. We talk about that when we talk about all these other things. Same goes for relationships. We are 100% committed to each other. But we've gotten that way because we understand that we need to communicate with each other. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So communication is the biggest. Key. Yeah.
Yes. And it's something that you don't ever want to be in, like a loveless marriage or relationship, especially when you have children, because they look up to you. And if they see that, you know, their parents are in a loveless marriage, they're going to think it's okay for them.
Yeah.
And I would be heartbroken if my daughter ever thought that they can be in a relationship that's less than what Zach and I have. Like,
Yeah.
we always, like, I know so many kids probably like, oh, God, I can't stand watching my parents hug or kiss and the kids go up. I want you to see that because that's what a guy needs to treat you as. They need to do that with you because you deserve the world.
Yeah.
I want my kids to see that, and I want other kids to see that because it's what is normal, you know? It's not normal to have kids witness parents fighting all the time and not being happy and talking bad about their dad. It's not okay.
Or seeing, one parent just completely unhappy all the time, the other parent, out doing stuff.
Yeah, that's not fair. I mean, it's a team effort, and both parties need to be there. And it's not back in the 50s or whatever decade it was where the wives were at home slaving on everything, taking care of the kids. It's not like that anymore. The wives work. They still take care of the kids. They still, cook dinner every night and do all these things. The men need to help that too, and vice versa. Because I know plenty of women
And it's 2022, so there could be two ladies or two men.
Yeah, there's plenty of people who don't pull their weight in a relationship. And it needs to be 50-50 across the board.
And it needs to be communicated.
Yeah.
If you're not pulling your weight, and I can see that, and I'm feeling that, and I'm resenting you for that, I got to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, when I grew up, my dad always made it perfectly clear to me, my brother, and my sister that my mom came first. That my mom was his number one. We were close second, but we would never surpass her as number one. And, I know that my kids see that with Rachel. They see that, our relationship, she's my number one. And we work super hard. Now, that doesn't take anything away from them. That doesn't make me love them less or, work on my relationship with them any less. But your person needs to be your person and your people. This isn't just communicating for couples. Communicating with your kids is huge. Communicating with other people that you care about, whether they're friends or extended family. Communicate. And don't just communicate the bad. Communicate the good. All right, so we are back. And I'm going to get to this little story about our Christmas. So, going back to communicating the good. Always communicate the good. And the way that my family has come up with doing it is at Christmas time, instead of doing a Secret Santa where you get some little tchotchke $25 gift that you don't really care about, we started doing Secret Santa, but whoever's name you pull, you write them a letter. You write them a letter about what they mean to you, about what they've done for you this year, what you're proud of them for this year. It is amazing.
It is. I look forward to that gift every year.
That is the greatest gift. It costs you nothing but your time. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And, sometimes Rachel and I will write each other letters. Or we'll write each other little long text messages about, this is what you mean to me. I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you, that I love you, and that I'm communicating how much I care about you. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people think of communication as just, oh, he's going to tell me what he doesn't like. He's going to tell me how bad I'm doing at this or, what I'm doing with this. It doesn't have to be like that. Mm-mm. It can be good. And
it can be good all the time. It doesn't have to be bad.
No, it doesn't have to be bad. And hopefully it's never bad. Hopefully you never have anything to communicate that's bad. And you get to just communicate the good. And we hope that that's what you do. And when you communicate, you share that love with the other person. But if you have something that's going on in your relationship, something that you're not happy with, something that's bugging you, something that you find yourself always talking to other people about, share it with your significant other. Mm-hmm.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
There's no shame in that.
No, it's gonna save
healthy.
You time. It's gonna either, get you out of a loveless or, emotionless relationship, or it's going to make your relationship so much better. Mm-hmm. Rachel and I's relationship is so amazing because we communicate. Yep. We don't get defensive. We don't take it, personally like an attack. We know that if Rachel needs to communicate something with me, if she needs to sit me down and talk to me about something that I know it matters to her, which means it's going to matter to me, she takes it seriously, which means I need to take it seriously, and we need to figure out how to make it better for both of us.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect by any means, so please don't take any of this content that we are, because we're not. We still have ups and downs like any other marriage, but we talk about them and we make sure that they don't happen again, or if they do, we got to figure out a way to resolve it quicker. But we are not perfect in any way, but we definitely strive to be.
We definitely strive to be, and that's why we communicate.
Yeah.
You know, we practice what we preach.
Yep. And I mean, we've learned and we've come a long way. I mean, coming up on 9 years of marriage, it's a long time. And our first year of marriage, you know, bringing in a baby and buying a house, there's a lot of stress going into a new job and a lot of changes. And it brings up a lot of tension in the marriage. And we didn't communicate at first because we didn't know how. I didn't see that in my upbringing because my mom was a single mom, and, you know, and I mean, I don't know, I'm sure Zach has, but it's just very, very different upbringings, and I didn't know much about communication until I got married, and, you know, you kind of have to learn with each other, but it's not impossible, so you just gotta talk.
You gotta talk. You gotta make that time to talk.
Yeah.
And you have to make the talk uncomfortable as much as you don't want to, as much as you want it to always be flowers and sunshine. If it doesn't get real, and by real, I mean, like, you know, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, then you're never going to fix anything. And that's what that's what we hope that everybody gets to do. And that's what I hope that this podcast, like this episode specifically, shows you. Hey, have that conversation. If your husband's working too much or your wife's working too much and you don't get to see them, and you're at home, you know, doing everything to keep your family together, but, you know, they're not there, tell them.
Yeah. And they need to be willing to change. If they're not willing to change, you must not be that important to them.
Right.
And I hate saying that, but it's true.
Know your worth.
100%. And they got to make sure if they want to be in your life and your family's life, they need to make that change, because you would.
Yeah. You know, and that brings us into the next part of this relationship podcast is priorities. Priorities are huge. If you don't know what your priorities are, then you don't have strong priorities, in my opinion. Everybody I know, from, you know, my best friend to my mother to the people that don't like me, know what my priorities are. My top priority is my family. Rachel, Callie, Addison. That is my priority. Nothing will come over that. Not work, not fun, not golf. Well, no, not golf.
Yeah, think about that.
Nothing will break those priorities. And I don't care what it is. Money, it doesn't matter. Look at yourself. Take 10 minutes after you listen to this amazing podcast brought to you by ParadiseGolfBarrel.com and figure out just your top 3. Just say, what are my 3 top priorities if I had to put them in order, and how do they rank against each other? You know, you might sit down, you might realize, well, work's my top priority. My family's second, but work's okay, that's fine. I don't care what your priorities are. They don't have to be the same as mine or the same as Rachel's, but know what they are and abide by them. Don't let your priorities sway in what you want to do right in that second.
Yeah.
Make your priorities concrete. Make them the way you live. Right?
100%. And I think family needs to be in the top 3, always.
You would hope.
It boggles my mind when family's not in some of the top 3 priorities, because I've heard it before that it's just not a priority for them.
Yeah.
And it's shown that it's not a priority, and it just...
And we're not telling you what to make your priorities.
No, I'm not, but I think
Rachel's being a little judgmental
family
about
needs to be in the top 3. I will be judgmental about that.
I'm just saying, figure out what they are, know them, and, you know, live by them.
Yeah. Don't change them often like that. Like, go back and forth.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
It's annoying. I'm being judgmental. I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. What else you have? I brought up 2 pretty big things. What is some advice you have?
Continue to date your spouse.
Ooh, I love
just
dating my
don't
spouse.
stop.
Yeah.
People think that when you get married, the dates stop. It doesn't. Make it more fun. Zach and I got this adventure book. We actually got it from I don't know if it was a wedding or I don't know. My mother-in-law
We have
found it.
3 of them.
Yeah, we do. We haven't
We
gone
have
through all 3,
a
but
family one, a couples one, and
an adult one. It's called In Bed.
yeah.
But this couples one, you scratch off and it tells you what to do. It'll cost you money. It may be at home. It may be something you do like a day trip, but you have to do it when you scratch it off. And they're so much fun. Like
Yeah.
one was, I think it was like a at-home baking one,
Yep.
which, we could have used it for our podcast, but we didn't. And it was just baking with each other. It was so much fun.
It's like a prompt. They're
Yeah.
like prompts. They get you
to do
doing
something
something.
together.
Yeah, instead of sitting on the couch and watching a television show, which there's nothing wrong with, but sometimes you got to stimulate your mind.
Yeah.
You got to stimulate each other. That's for the other book. But
we made a date out of it.
Yeah.
We went to the grocery store, got all the things we needed. We figured out we wanted to make chocolate chip cookies. We made those. And then after we went to the grocery store, we did go to dinner, have some drinks, and we came home and did the baking, where we made a whole evening out of it. And it cost us under maybe $80 because dinner and all that. But they can be free. There are so many in there that are free.
And dates don't have to be crazy. You don't have to go to a nice restaurant and get dressed up in a suit and tie. And they can be as easy as
Going to the zoo.
Yeah, going to the zoo or going to a park. Or if you have little kids at home and it's not real easy or feasible for you to get out, put them to bed or put them upstairs with a movie. Say, hey, here's some popcorn. Don't bother us for the next 2 hours. You make a picnic, you eat it in the backyard, watching a movie on your iPad. Just that time that you get to spend alone.
With no interruptions.
With no interruptions and, doing something together is huge.
Yeah. And another thing, too, is cut your phones back. When you don't want your marriage or your relationships to be consumed by electronics.
Yeah.
You're already on them so much with work or school or just day to day when you're away from your spouse. Don't bring it home with you.
Right.
We try to put our phones down, keep them on the charger, or just keep them away from our, hands reach because you don't need them.
I don't need to be sitting
I don't
on
need
Instagram.
to talk to. I have no one else I need to talk to other than my husband. He's sitting right in front of me, and my kids are there. So anyone else, again, is not my top priority.
Yeah.
I love my family dearly, but they're not my top priority when I'm at home with my number one priority.
Yeah.
So obviously, continue to date your spouse and put the electronics away. You don't need to be on social media when your family's sitting in front of you.
Right. I agree. I got one more thing because we're getting close to this half-hour mark, and effort.
Yes.
Effort. Just because I've been married to Rachel for 9 years does not mean I get to stop putting in the effort. And the effort doesn't just mean, telling her that I love her and buying flowers every now and then. It also means making sure that I'm the best me that I can be for her, for my kids. It does mean buying the flowers and, doing the spontaneous things that made that person fall in love with you. Just because you get married doesn't mean you get to stop being the boyfriend. Mm-hmm. She can leave you. He can leave you. They can leave you. Keep putting in the effort. Keep showing your person that they're your person, because they should never forget that. That should never be a question in their mind of, gosh, it doesn't seem like my spouse cares about me anymore.
Right.
That shouldn't be something that goes through your spouse's head. Rachel and I, we both try to stick to, we both try to work out. And it's not because I'm out in the bars trying to pick up chicks with my dope six-pack. It's because I want my wife to find me attractive. I don't care if all these other ladies find me attractive. I want my wife to find me attractive. So that's effort that I'm going to put in. I want my wife to be able to come home and see flowers on the table so she knows that, yeah, I was grocery shopping. I was doing the normal monotonous relationship stuff that I have to do as a father and as a husband. But I thought about her. And she does the same for me. You got to put in the effort if you want to keep that person into you. Mm-hmm. I see so many people where you look at their relationship and you're like, God, do they even like each other?
Right. I don't think they do.
Well, do they want to be around each other? Do they ever not talk shit about, like, when was the last time, and we're not going to use any couples' names, but I know that we're both thinking of some of the same people, and we have friends that have great relationships. We have friends that have amazing relationships that we model some of our stuff after. But we also know people that we look at them and we're like, God, does he even like her?
Right.
Does she even like her? Like, effort. Effort. You get an A for effort. That's a saying for a reason.
Yeah.
Date your spouse. Show them that you love them. And just put in the work. Do the work. If you want to have a good relationship, do the work.
Yeah.
If you just want to sit around and be miserable, don't listen to a thing we've said.
Or be single.
Yeah.
Don't get in a committed relationship if you don't want to put any effort into it.
Yeah. But, I mean, we've given you some things that we make it a conscious effort to do. We make a conscious effort to communicate. That is...
That's a daily thing.
It's paramount in our relationship. It is just something that we've adopted. We've had enough conversations that have been awkward to now all our conversations are easy breezy because we're both on the same page about it. We talked about effort. Effort's huge.
Yep. Date nights.
Date nights are huge.
Yep.
What was the third thing we talked about?
Putting the phone away.
Putting the phone away. Yeah, just priorities.
Yeah.
Priorities. I hope that everybody that is listening to this took something from it. I really do. I hope that if you have a relationship, good, bad, whatever, that you've taken at least something from this. You know, we've hit you with a lot of Dr. Phil shit in this 30 minutes, but it's all stuff that when people ask us how we're so good together, you know, these are the things that we tell them. And it might go in one ear and out the other, or it might really resonate with you personally, but do it. Communicate. That's the biggest one.
Yeah, because not everything will work for everyone. Like,
No.
you know, date nights, that doesn't work. But communication will, because everyone can communicate. It's free. It does not cost you any money. And
it'll save you so much time.
Yes.
It'll save you time whether you got to get out of a bad relationship or it'll make your relationship
and
that
it'll
much
make
better.
you happier in the long run. You'll be so much more happier if you can get the frustrations off your chest and just vocal those out to whoever needs to hear it.
Yeah, and let them know the good things they're doing. Let them know what you like. Let
Why
them know
you fell in love with them.
Yeah.
They need to hear that every once in a while.
Right. I fell in love with Rachel because she rubbed my back. So hopefully she'll rub my back more.
Okay, hold on. When we first got married, we like we said, we wrote the list out what we wanted others to fix and change, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, for each other.
On Zach's thing, it said make more chocolate chip cookies. That was his number 5 on our list.
I'm a sucker for chocolate chip cookies.
And I've been slacking
Oh
at
my
that.
gosh. She did get this. So the relationship episode's done. If you don't care about what we have to say, then just log off now. But hit subscribe. She learned how to make chocolate chip cookies from Crumble Cookie. It's like a deep recipe.
Copycat.
Holy moly.
They're really good. I made this for Callie's birthday party.
Oh, man. Oh, you know who else makes really good chocolate chip cookies?
Ashley Papp.
Ashley Papp. If you're listening, which I hope you are,
we need some more.
We need some more. And if you make some for me and Kevin, I'm going to take Kevin's just like I did at Christmas. So,
such an
item. No, that's all we got. That's our relationship podcast. If we leave you with nothing else, we just want you to be happy in your relationship. We want your relationship to grow. Communicate.
Yes.
Communicate. Love each other. Be nice to each other. And just...
And have fun.
Have
Date
fun.
your spouse.
Love it.
It never stops.
Love it. You got anything else?
I don't.
No. That was episode 5. If you liked it, please share that in the comments. Make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button. Make sure that you're following us on all our platforms. You're shopping at Paradise Golf Apparel. We're out of here. We'll see you for episode 6 next week. Rachel, send them off.
Adios.